Yeah, Pete Buttigieg. This is he ran for president in 2020. He had his pronouns. Now he doesn't. They're gone.
One executive order defines sex in federal matters as only male or female, while not recognizing transgender, non-binary, or intersex people, or the idea that gender can be fluid.
Another order bans transgender military members. Trump enacted this ban before in 2017, but President Biden later repealed it in 2021.
A third order cuts federal support for gender transitions for anyone under the age of 19. It also directs that federally run...
I thought it said that you can't even do gender transitions under 19. That was my understanding, is that it can't even happen at all. Did I misunderstand? Just the funding. Okay.
Insurance programs exclude coverage for such medical care. The order states that the U.S. will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another, and it will rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and life-altering procedures.
Damn.
It argues that kids
are... It's like a total 180. It is. This is a total 180.
Impressionable to make this kind of decision, so it is one they will later regret and cannot reverse. Today, our Julie Dunmeyer spoke to several trans advocates who argue against this narrative.
Today, I spoke with members and allies of the trans community in Grand Rapids. They explained gender-affirming care and how they feel targeted under the Trump administration.
It feels very heavy, although we knew this was coming.
Of course it's going to happen.
It's hard. It's really scary.
It's disturbing.
Members and allies of the trans community are concerned.
The name of
I think they should be, honestly. Because he's going to keep going with this too. Yeah, they're going to keep going with this for a bit.
Executive order is inflammatory on purpose. It's a scare tactic meant to rile up a lot of feelings in the country.
This comes after the executive order titled, quote, "Protecting Children from Chemical and Surgical Mutilation" was signed.
It's a gross mischaracterization of what gender-affirming care is for children.
Take it from Roz Keith, a parent of a trans son.
It's just, it's...
And founder of the nonprofit Stand With Trans.
This is such a mistake for them to push. This is gonna set them back so much. I really kind of feel bad in a way, because there's a lot of people that, like, I've known a couple of trans people, and I feel like they're gonna get like massive friendly fire because of this. Yeah, I feel kind of bad for them. Because this is radicalizing people against trans entirely.
Explains young children, like, for example, a 5-year-old, would only ever undergo something like social changes.
There are no medical changes that are going to happen at that age. Once a child hits perhaps 10, 11, 12, if they have been insistent, persistent, and consistent with that gender declaration, then probably what comes next is a consultation.
Is nothing, because they shouldn't have it happen at all until they become a legal adult. And you shouldn't be having kids do this. If they're insistent about getting a tattoo at 11, then do you give them a tattoo? I don't fucking think so. Like, I don't even understand how this is the conversation. Like, what is this? Like, this is such a huge fucking mistake for them.
With a pediatric endocrinologist. The endocrinologist prescribes hormones, but you don't walk into the doctor's office and get a prescription.
Ollie Robison, a trans employee from...
So you don't walk into the doctor's office, but you walk into the doctor's office? Like, I don't know... What? What?
The Grand Rapids Pride Center calls these times dark.
I think that we're just in for a lot more.
And
Absolutely.
Aaron Prevka,
completely right. It's going to keep going. Absolutely.
Trans woman who just celebrated officially changing their name, worries what the future holds.
Yeah.
It has...
We don't need to be rude to the way that people look on the screen. I mean, like, that person is like, they're going bald. I am too, right? I mean, we don't need to talk shit about them. Right? I mean, that's it. I mean, Don't you think it's bad enough that their hair looks like that to begin with? Yeah, like, I mean, because also, by the way, guys, I say it again, y'all gonna make me look like a bad guy, right? Whenever everybody's like going wild and out on this shit. And so, like, just keep that in mind. Because, like, it puts me in a weird spot. So just don't do it.
And extremely distressing. I know that even though I am fortunate at the moment being a trans woman, like an adult trans woman, this isn't directly hurting me, but I've been there. I know what it's like to be a queer child who doesn't understand.
Well, it will though, right? I mean, like if they make you identify as a male on your driver's license or something, or like they make you go to males' bathrooms, I mean, I think that's a big one.
Themselves, let alone what's going on around them.
This order centering around children is cause for pause with all of the adults Fox 17 spoke with.
We see a large percentage of depression and suicidality in youth already, largely due to societal transphobia, and taking away care will result in premature, preventable deaths of kids.
All saying this appears to only be the beginning, but hope is not lost.
This story will be on the internet. People will see this. So many people get upset.
That's exactly what's happened, and I feel like it hasn't had the result that they thought it would. Like, the fact is, the more people that see this, the more people are going to disagree with it. I think that, like, the gaming community especially, and maybe this is like a hot take, I think the gaming community especially is one of the most progressive communities on the internet. We're extremely progressive. Now, you've got people that say slurs, right? But most of the time people say slurs like that and they have friends that are the same race of the slur that they're using, right? It's like it's just trash talk, basically. And so I think that the big issue is that when you actually reach the general population, the acceptance of this, I think, goes really, really, really low.
Annoyed that the trans experience keeps getting shoved in their face, or that we're being loud, and if we just quieted down, they wouldn't be bothered by us so much.
That's exactly the way people think. That's correct.
But I feel like most trans people, including myself, also kind of want that. Like, I don't want to constantly be talking to people about my gender or my story.
I think that that's actually a really good point.
Or what it means to be a transgender person, but I can't not keep having this.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, is that basically a lot of the companies and, like, you know, for example, media that pushes this, they push it as a way to maybe get ESG money or to signal that they're very progressive. And I think that in the process of doing that, they've effectively basically appropriated the trans like movement, and they've alienated people against it in fulfilling and trying to pursue their own profits. So you have these companies that are basically using people like this and you know, being like, oh, look at us, look at these people, look how progressive we are. And now, like, they're the ones that are getting all the shit for it. Like, that's the way I see it. And let's see here. We have somebody in chat. Bro, kill yourself and do us all a fucking favor. Why? Jim Crow? Wait. Is that me? Like, you want... Wait, why? What did I do? I don't get it. Why are you mad? Like... What? We're just talking about this. I mean, what am I saying this crazy? I feel like I'm not saying anything crazy, am I? I mean, shit, man. Yeah, I don't know what this is. It's for attention, bro? It's a troll? You're right. We're gonna just... Yeah, why are we wasting time on this? Anyway, so what I'm saying is basically, like, these entertainment companies, what they did is they basically took trans people, and there's obviously a handful of them that do want to be in the limelight, but a lot of them just want to exist, right? And so they took those people, they put them front and center as a way to signal to other people that this company is super progressive and this company cares about all of these social issues. And again, the reason for that is because the company wants to have those people spend money at the company. That's the real reason. And so the collateral for that is that people get annoyed by it. They're frustrated with the company. And now they lash out at these other people that are just trying to exist. And I think that's what's happened. That's exactly what's happened. And I feel bad for a lot of the people that are just quietly trans and that's it. It's not a big issue. Don't you think you're creating an echo chamber by banning all these people since the election? Don't you want opposite views? An opposite view of telling me to kill myself? No, I don't think I need that. I don't. I don't think I need that. If you want to express a disagreement, I think that most people disagree. If you can express a disagreement in a way that's not, telling me to kill myself, I think that usually I can handle it. Yeah, that's okay. And also, every stream is an echo chamber. So anyway, I don't think we're missing much by banning Jim Crower, telling them to kill themselves. Yeah, exactly, right? Anyway, let's move on. So yeah, that's basically what I think has happened, is that people like this have been pushed into the limelight for a capitalistic, very cynical goal of just trying to make as much money as possible by co-opting social movements. And I feel bad for them. I genuinely do, because I think that like they just basically like they're getting drafted into this culture war that a lot of them just don't even really want to be a part of. They're being used. They are.
Conversation if my rights are going to keep being threatened like this.
Julie Dunmeyer, Fox 17 News.
As Julie's story mentioned, gender-affirming care for youth isn't always medical in nature. So what does it look like? First, there's an evaluation and diagnosis. That often happens with a pediatrician and or a mental health specialist. Some trans youth may decide to start with a social transition that involves a new hairstyle, clothing, name, or pronouns.
Yeah.
Medical care can include puberty blockers, which are reversible and also give someone time to explore their gender identity. Older teens may later take hormones to make their bodies more closely match their gender identity. Well beyond that can be some kind of gender-affirming surgery, but the Grand Rapids Trans Foundation tells us that surgeries are very rare in trans youth. Gender-affirming care is supported by medical groups such as the American Medical Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics.
Today, we also reached out to several Republican lawmakers from both the state and federal levels to get
because hormones don't affect the psyche. I mean, no, in my opinion, like I think like you want if you think you're a girl and like your mom is okay with it, you want to dress up like a girl and go to high school, that's fine. But I don't think you need to be taking drugs or getting surgery, right? You can wait till you're 18. When you're 18, if you still feel fresh about it, you want to do it, then it's your body. You can do whatever you want to do with your body.
Reactions. We spent a few minutes with State Representative Brad Paquette from the 37th District, which includes portions of Berrien and Cass counties in southwest Michigan. He says he supports...
It's crazy, by the way, because I think that the way that I see it is the way that I would say probably 80% of people see it, 90% of people see it. And somehow, like, it's all these, like, weird extremes.
The president's order, and for the last few years has been looking at how this is handled in Michigan. He says pharmaceutical and surgical intervention is what the president is trying to stop.
And so hopefully there will be enough people standing out saying that this is harming children, because these are the most vulnerable individuals among us, and they're becoming pharmaceutical customers for life. And no child should have to be thankful that they were able to grow up without hand of intervention and be able to grow through puberty. No child should be thankful that they were able to go through puberty without hand of intervention. And this is what's happening in our state right now, and it needs to end.
We also received a statement from the Republican Congressman Tim Walberg, who represents Michigan's 5th Congressional District in southwest Michigan. It reads, many children and teens go through challenging, awkward, and uncertain times as they grow up. Permanent, life-altering decisions made during these times can lead to immense regret. That's why we have laws in place to prevent children from making many permanent decisions that they are not capable of fully consenting to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, children
Regardless of one's thoughts on the topic, it should be common sense that taxpayers are not funding gender transitions for minors.
It is. It is. and the idea that it's not is crazy. Yep, there it is. Pronouns are banned. And that was yesterday. This is today. Do you think companies in June will still celebrate Pride Month? I think that, so this is what I think is probably going to happen. So like this actually, that's a really interesting question. Like where does Pride Month stand now that we've seen a very big cultural shift? Now, I want to think about this. Think about how it was, I guess 4 months ago, right? I was looking at the calendar, how it was 4 months ago. Different than it is now. I think a lot can happen in 4 months, and I would not be surprised. Like, the thing is that we can't really predict what's going to happen because it's like kind of unprecedented, like the amount of change and like how fast it's happening, at least in like my recent memory. But there is a good chance that if things become even more conservative and even more, you know, like against like LGBT stuff, that a lot of companies call off Pride Month. I think there's a very, very good probability of that happening. Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely. And so the reason why, so this is what, like, why would a company do this? It's very simple. So companies do Pride Month primarily to make money. And by primarily, I mean completely. So companies do Pride Month because they're hoping that people that support the cause will see the company positively and maybe buy a shirt with a rainbow on it, right? That's clearly the idea. Or a trans flag or anything else. It's money. So if the company thinks that it's going to make more money supporting and selling rainbow flags and stuff like that, then they'll do it. But if they think that they'll end up losing money and it will end up being a detriment to the product and it will hurt them, then they will not do it. So I think the decision will probably very much be a temperature check that happens somewhere around in April or May. And there could be a good chance that Bud Light, well, so Bud Light was the first example, but you saw even Target roached out completely. And Target was pushing stuff for like trans. Yeah, I heard for like even in a kids section, right? Which is like, that's something that a lot of people disagree with, right? But Target was pushing this like last year. And so now, not only did they go back on that, but they roached out of the whole fucking thing. There's no more DEI at Target at all. They even put out a post about it. So, and Musk is pulling a Twitter and locking federal employees out of their computers. And so, yeah, there you go. As a bisexual, it's just sad that my sexuality is something that's being used to sell. It sucks as fuck. Here's the truth. And I think this is even true for trans people. We don't give a fuck. Just act like a normal person. Everybody's going to get along. There's going to be no problems. You want to suck a dude's dick, suck a dude's dick. You want to dress up in a dress, dress up in a dress. Don't give a fuck. Just be polite, be respectful, be reasonable. Don't be aggressive. Treat people with respect, and there's going to be no problem. That's it. That's it. You do that, and you're going to solve 90%, 95%, 99% of your problems. Now, it doesn't mean you won't have problems, but it means you're going to solve a lot of them. And I think that, like, I mean, for those of you guys that are, like, more, what do you call it? More conservative. How do you guys feel about that? Is that the way that you feel, too? Feel the same. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, really. And so that's really what it is. And don't force it. It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. People treat each other with respect. AOC removed her pronouns. Did she? Let me see. Yep. But I think that happened a while ago, didn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. How the turntables? Well, I mean, people knew this was going to happen, right? I mean, everybody knew this shit was going to happen. Let's be honest. I think that pronouns, people were very, very unhappy about it. People really didn't like pronouns, so it's not a surprise that people are pushing back on it super hard. So the trans community is supposed to just keep their mouth shut while rights are being taken away. You can make emotional arguments as much as you want. At the end of the day, people just don't want to hear about it. So, like, if you don't like that, then I think it's totally fair for you to be frustrated. But at the end of the day, you can't expect the whole world to carry your cross. That's it. What rights? No, I think they are going to take away So, like, for example, like the right to identify as a gender on, like, your state ID card, I think that is a right that they had that they will no longer have. The right to be in military service, that's not a right. Okay, so you're getting specific in the term rights. That's fair. Privileges, options, availabilities, whatever you want to call them, there were options that trans people could take advantage of that other people could also take advantage of, and now they can no longer do that. So there is, like, you know, imagine the scope of what a trans person could do is this big. Now it's this big. They made it smaller. You want to get an argument about, like, what the vocabulary for what that definition is, that's totally fine. But their options are there. Or sorry, there are less options. So play pretend is okay. Look, I've given my opinion on this 50 fucking times. I'm not going to say it again. My point is that you're not going to get people to carry your cross. It's just simply not going to happen. And also, another reality that I think a lot of these people need to realize is that a lot of people don't like trans people. They don't. And in the West, it is very, very much more accepted than the rest of the world. Way more accepted. So I get that you guys, I understand it, and I sympathize absolutely. Like, I'm not in support of taking away rights either. I think it's ridiculous, or privileges or options. I think it's crazy. But at the same time, like, I don't really like gambling. Like, here's an example, right? Like, I really don't like gambling. I think gambling's bad. I don't like alcohol either. I wish that in a perfect world, nobody drank alcohol and nobody gambled ever. That's what I believe. I believe this. I think the world would be a better place if that was the case. That being said, boring? Sure, right? I recognize that I am the minority. And just because I want it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Because there's too many people out there that disagree with me. That's how we do it in Islam. Hey, I said I have a lot of fans in the Middle East. Right? You don't see me eating a lot of bacon. You don't see me drinking alcohol. I'm not gambling. I got no credit cards. You know, like, I usually, you know, I almost practice. It's Ramadan, right? You don't eat when the sun's up. I usually eat at night only too. Yeah, no, hey, I'm there in a lot of ways, right? It's weird. But anyway, so do you think alcohol is worse than weed? I do. I think that alcohol is a lot worse than smoking weed. I think that neither of them in moderation are very bad, but I think that they're not good. But yeah, that's it. Anyway, it's the extreme thing that bothers you. Yeah, no doubt. And anyway, so pronouns are dead. That's it.